Therapure is a mixture of businesses, but primarily a custom manufacturer of biologic products for innovative pharmaceutical companies. We do for the full suite of services, which is right the way through from development through to protein manufacture, downstream processing and fill finish, which is where you put it in the vial at the end of the day for administration to the patient.
You can think of proteins having multiple functions. Proteins are the jack of all trades in cells. Insulin, it's a protein. It's very old, one of the oldest drugs, but it's a protein. They call the total number of proteins in the body is called the proteome. And just like the human genome, the number of genes, they've actually mapped out the human proteome. And there's potentially tens of thousands of proteins. So the number of proteins that are approved are not that many, relatively speaking. So technically, there's a huge opportunity to exploit the proteome and find new proteins that are therapeutics.
So small molecules we typically describe as chemicals, which are your typical pharmaceutical pills. Things like aspirin is considered a small molecule, whereas what we manufacture and purify here are what we call large molecules, which are biological molecules. So things like immunoglobulins, could be a protein vaccine, but they're very large in comparison. So if you think of aspirin as the tip of a pin, and we're looking at something that would be the size of a boulder in comparison. So it requires very different processing methods, different levels of cleanliness, and the process itself is key to the manufacturing.
The simple way to get a protein out is to find the DNA that codes for that protein. Once that's found, it's a matter of putting that DNA into a cell and having that cell pump out the protein. So what we have to do is develop a way to, one, find the protein that we're interested in, and then purify it out of a background of many thousands of proteins using very specialized separation techniques. In the end of the day, we end up with a protein product that typically is greater than 99% pure, but also is biologically active.
One of the major differences between biologics and small molecules is biologics is much more complicated, and as a result needs a lot more control, a lot more expertise, much more capital intensive equipment, and the sort of facility that you've seen here today. That's one thing that the West is certainly still able to do better than most countries in the world. Small molecule outsourcing is typically done in India and Asia today, and I think one of the great things about this industry is that it's the sort of thing that once you've established the manufacture in a particular facility, it's more than likely that those products will stay in a company like this, and that's why I like to build a business in biologics, which is really the new field of the pharmaceutical industry going forward.
This facility, we believe, is truly unique in Canada. We do multiple different processes, multiple products, and we can provide aseptic or sterile filled product in a final format. I don't think there's another CMO in Canada that can do that at this point.
We've grown very significantly in 2011, more than 50%. We see a very strong growth for 2012 and beyond, to be frank with you. I'd like to think that as long as we execute, the future is extremely bright for Therapure.